Ellen and Tom, I'm just waiting on Joyce to respond back to me, see if she's having any more issues with logging in. So we're just waiting on Joyce to join us.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
We're just going to give it a couple of more minutes as Joyce is trying to log in from a different laptop. Alan, should we begin as Joyce is trying to get on?
Yep, that's fine.
All right. All right, before we begin, I do have an introduction to tonight's remote meeting. This open meeting of the Mendon Board of Health is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's updated guidance on holding meetings pursuant to the act extending certain COVID-19 measures that was signed into law on June 16th, 2021. This act includes an extension until March 31st, 2023 of the remote meeting provisions of his March 12th, 2020 executive order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. The order allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For this meeting, the Mendon Board of Health is convening by video telephone conference as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. This meeting will feature public comment. The time is now 6:36, and I'll hand it over to the chairman of the board, Alan Greenberg.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Everyone that's dialed in to talk with us. The first item on the agenda is Tom Ryder here. Yep, there he is. Hi, Tom. We have a local upgrade for 35 Taft Avenue. So I'll turn that over to you, Tom Ryder.
Okay, is anybody in attendance from 35 Taft?
Yes, good evening, Gregory Buckingham. I'm the owner of 35 Taft Avenue.
Okay, so I did send an email upgrade the other day, yesterday, I believe, after review. 35 Taft Ave, do you want to explain what you want to do?
Sure. Am I able to share my screen to give you a look at the plan and some photographs? Sure.
Yeah.
Let me, I could get it. Sorry. Are you able to see my screen now?
Nice job.
All right, I got it. All right, so I could just run through this real quickly, just a quick overview. If you can see my screen, this is the existing property at 35 Taft Avenue, a photograph of the existing house, and as majority of the property as I could fit in the photograph. We've kind of got a front view here in the top left corner. This is if you were on Taft Avenue looking onto the property from the front edge, and the existing septic location, just to orientate everybody, is located here on the left side of the existing house in this kind of flat area of grass. The photograph to the right, top right, is basically standing on that grass area looking at the elevation of the house there. And then the bottom left corner photograph is looking from the rear yard back towards the front. And the bottom right photograph is the opposite side of the property. Kind of the side that we won't really be talking about. It's opposite of the septic. On the next plan here, this was the as-built of the existing septic done in 2013. And I'm just going to zoom in here because this plan's kind of small, but you can see, as I just showed from the photograph, that this is the existing house. We were looking towards the front of that house and the septic off to the left-hand side here. Basically, it's a 1,500-gallon septic tank set for a 3-bedroom house, which is what the existing house is. And the septic tank is located here. You have the D-box and then all the Cultec chambers. Beyond that, basically the leaching field. And we've got an impervious barrier. And the existing house was built in 1923, so it contains an existing fieldstone foundation. So what was done previously was there was a temporary interlocking block wall that was put up along that fieldstone foundation for kind of obvious reasons that the fieldstone foundation can be very porous, and you wouldn't want to have your septic and leaching chamber right up against the fieldstone foundation. So this is currently the as-built that's on file with the town and the existing conditions. I'm going to just go through this really quickly, but this was the previously permitted septic design and layout, just kind of again showing you that the Cultec chambers, the septic, there's like a 5-foot kind of over dig barrier, I guess they call it, around the leaching field. And then again, that retaining wall or protection wall against the house. The reason why I'm here today is that the project that's going through conservation now and will be filing for building permit very shortly is that we are going to reconstruct the existing dwelling and add a proposed addition onto it. And so I just wanted to put this in front of the board here in case there's any questions or any concerns. And one of the things that I was hoping to get some relief on or see the board's position here was on, kind of with the existing, with the addition part, if there was any possibility of extending that addition a little bit closer to the septic system. And I'll get to the proposed plan that shows that, the current proposed plan. This proposed plan that we're looking at on the screen right now is proposed back in 2013. So this is not the current one that I'm proposing for 2023 here. I just wanted to show this just for reference. This is the existing septic system, just so you can see it's a Cultec system, up to kind of modern standards today for a septic system, recently, put in 2013. And then this is the proposed site plan. So this kind of looks at the site, basically from what I was just mentioning. What I was trying to propose here for this project is, I'm just going to zoom in, sorry, because it's very small. So again, orientating everybody, we have the existing septic here, the existing septic and then the existing septic leaching chamber. So the intent is to not do anything to the existing septic, that would all be existing to remain, and it would tie into the new proposed work, because there's not going to be any increase in flow or increase in bedrooms or anything like that. The proposed addition is basically consisting of a slab on grade garage area, and then the kind of reconstruction of the existing dwelling that happens sort of to the rear of the house would happen back here. So what I was kind of just previously mentioning, that I was hoping to see if I could get some relief on this kind of setback from the existing leaching field, is because of the narrowness of the existing lot, and with the septic in the location of that it is, it makes it very challenging to kind of squeeze in a house in a 22.5-foot wide footprint, to have a house that's only 22.5 feet wide, on the footprint of a property. It gets really tricky trying to get everything to lay out there, as far as entries and staircases and things like that, to make everything obviously up to current code. So what the kind of proposal was is that if I could propose doing it 26 feet on the slab on grade portion, so I would not be encroaching or changing any of the dimensional existing conditions for the part of the house that would have a foundation, basically like a basement level and a first floor and a second floor level. I was only looking to get some relief, if possible, for the part of the house that would be slab on grade. So in my perspective, I think it's an upgrade to have this being a new poured foundation. It's not fieldstone, that we would put in the new impervious barrier and everything like that. Obviously, we're getting closer to the leaching field, but and that's obviously something that you usually don't want to have if you have habitable space or something like that. But with this being slab on grade, from the elevation that the leaching field is, it's all basically earth. So there's not going to be any habitable space or anything like that adjacent to the leaching field, with this proposed addition. So I was hoping that kind of helps the situation to get some relief. It's again, obviously we're dealing with a very narrow lot, and and trying to make everything kind of squeeze in here. This current plan is actually what was just approved also by conservation. So this is reflective of some additional site upgrades that are going to have to be done on the property. There's going to be a swale, like a stone rock swale on this side of the property. So with having to do that to control drainage, it makes it very difficult to just push the whole house to that side. You know what I mean? Otherwise, if we didn't have to have this, then maybe that would be an option to ask for relief on the side yard setback. But we're trying to comply with the side yard setback that was put into place with the existing house and location of it. And, it just gets really tricky. So that's kind of the I guess the overview of what the whole project and the footprint of it. I think the next page I just have basically another photograph just kind of showing the existing condition again a little bit more closer up. So right now I've kind of caution taped out on the site the exact sort of location of that overdig of from the chambers, that 5-foot marker. So what we would be basically looking to do is, you can see in the existing house here, we were just looking to try to build right up to that portion, so that additional 3 feet or so would bring us right to the caution tape line, and it would come forward a little bit. I could go back to, I think probably this plan is the best for everybody to be able to reference and see. I'm not sure if there's any questions, or I think that was my overview. Is there anything you'd like to talk more specifically about or zoom into? I certainly can.
Good job, Gregory.
Thank you.
So
Tom Ryder?
So Jack and I think we've had some conversations with the applicant. I think number one was make sure he can locate where the system is currently, protect it from equipment driving over it, storage materials. The only thing I can say here is that there is an impervious barrier that probably needs to be reinstalled after he finishes the foundation. So I think we should go through a permitting where you have an installer actually, make sure that if there's any damage to the impervious barrier, that it be reinstalled. And other than that, I mean, he is encroaching into getting close to the system, as long as he can protect it, and then the certification process. That what your idea is for your contractor being able to not stage on top of the system, protect your system, because ultimately you would be responsible for having to go through the whole thing over again by installing engineering services. So
Yes, that's correct, and that's that last photograph that I just showed is showing that we've clearly have caution tape up, and probably have more protection as well to make sure that there's no equipment or just anything going on that part of the property that could potentially damage or jeopardize the chambers or any part of the septic system. So the plan from a mobilization standpoint is to mobilize everything on the property and work from the front of the house back, basically.
Tom, if you're speaking, Tom Ryder, I think we're losing your audio.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
It's kind of on the weak side, but we can hear you.
So what I said was, it looks like a portion of the existing house is being torn down for the garage.
That's correct, yes. And for the foundation to be able to remove that stone foundation, that temporary retaining wall, that will be removed to be a new solid foundation wall to tie into the new foundation wall. So the foundation adjacent to the septic system will be a brand new foundation.
Okay, I mean, I think that's what I had was just, just conditional. Have an installer come and pull the permit and you have to explain to them that this is just simply for just making sure that any damage to the impervious barrier is reinstalled if needed. And then Steve can do the inspection if it has to be, and then a certification. That's my recommendation. Sorry, did you miss that?
Nope, that's perfectly fine, yes.
Okay, so based on Tom Ryder's recommendation, do we have a motion, please?
I just had a question, Alan.
I'm sorry, Joyce,
is-
go ahead.
Do you have an installer already contracted for this job?
To do the excavation.
Yes, to do your whole excavation and,
Yep. So I'll answer that in a two-part question. So I'm going to be the general contractor. I'm a licensed Massachusetts general contractor. I hold CSL
Right.
license. I'll be the general contractor for the property, but the excavator that I plan to hire is, I'm hoping he actually was on site this past Sunday. He came over and took a look at everything, and he's actually the person that put in the existing septic system. So I really want to get him to do the job, and I'm trying to squeeze into his schedule so he can do it. It's actually Tatro Construction, so Mike Tatro. So
Mike Tatro?
yes.
Oh, good, great, that's good. That certainly gives me a lot of more confidence, because he is a great, knows what he's doing and will do it the way he knows that we want it to be.
Absolutely.
And I respect that you've got an issue there, but geez, I think we can do it. I think we can work with it. It seems like, you know what you're doing, and we know where you are.
Exactly. And Mike, like I said, Mike actually was the one that put in the existing septic system in 2013. So that was
Right.
why I was trying to get him back here to do this.
Correct, yeah. That is definitely a plus.
Yes.
Because he knows where it is, he knows where everything is, and he is a good contractor as well.
Exactly. Yes. Yep.
So I'm good with it. As long as we have the same, go along with what Tom talks of, and,
All right, Tom Fickner, any comments?
Hi, Greg. Nice presentation. Thank you.
All right,
So just wondering, Tom, do we have your recommendations on a letter yet to the Board of Health? Or are these just verbal at the moment?
I do have a letter.
You do? Okay, thanks, Jack. And just while we're talking on the property, it's not necessarily related to what you're planning, Greg, and just a couple of questions. Can you tell me who pumps your property at the moment for the septic?
Yep. So the septic was put in, like I said, in 2013. I had it pumped when I purchased the property in 2019 by Gibson Septic, is it? Or Gibson?
Gibson, yeah. John, okay.
So I had it pumped in 2000. I purchased it in 2019. I had it pumped in 2020, early 2020. I bought it late 2019 in August. I had it pumped immediately in the spring of 2020. And then I'm going to be having it pumped again because it's already 2023. So I'm going to be having it pumped again probably in the next week or two before all this starts. I'm going to have it pumped out, cleaned out, everything like that, just so that way it's all pumped, for the whole construction process in advance. So that's actually going to be happening. I'm going to schedule that very soon. I know I actually wasn't sure if I was going to use Gibson because I know, Joyce, you probably recognize my face. I'm a part of the Nipmuc Lake Association. I attend all those meetings.
Yes.
So
Yes. And
yes.
I'm so happy that that it's you who's going to be doing this because I know your credentials and, you know, I'm like getting to be a crazy person about making sure everybody's doing this stuff and, yeah, yeah,
So
great.
I know we're having a huge, you know, kind of issue with things, septics, you know, the pumping's not getting recorded. So I had used Gibson in 2020 and it appears that it was not ever recorded, because in the last Nipmuc Lake Association meeting, when you took kind of inventory, Joyce, I had filled out on the spreadsheet there that you had that, you know,
Right.
I did have it pumped and I can show my receipt from 2020. But unfortunately there was no record of it on file. So I wasn't sure honestly who to use. I was going to just use Gibson again because he did it and then I was just going to keep good records of it. But
Right. Well, just to,
I want to make sure it gets, you know, I'll use whoever the
Right.
town recommends so it goes on file. But I plan to pump it within the next couple of weeks before all this project
Right.
starts.
so in fact, you know, we're trying, Jack and I have been working and with the other board members too, to get every single septic system documented. So, I mean, I think he does a great job. He'll do a great job. But again, it's not going to hurt for you to say, don't forget to go down and put this in at the Board of Health because they're trying to keep this lake pristine and, you know, we're all on the same page here. So you
Right.
have to do your job too. So when you see him, you can encourage him to do that for me.
And like I said, I can send a receipt too because I want to keep
Right.
good records of it. Obviously, as you can see, I'm doing quite a bit of work on this property, and
Yes, I'm excited.
last thing I want to do is have to replace a septic by once the house is finished, and then I have to replace the septic.
Yeah.
On top of it. So we're trying to work with the existing system because
Right.
just
Yeah, well, that's a great system. You know, usually they work really well. So, you know, and they do have to be pumped out regularly and, you know, same old story, but.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Gregory.
Thank you so much, everybody.
All right, so can I get a motion from the board, please?
One moment, Jack.
Okay,
We do need someone to make a motion and someone to second it. I have a relationship with Gary Aaron Halnon, so I'm not gonna vote on this, even though it's pretty much housekeeping. So, go ahead, Jack.
I'll make a motion that we accept the plan as proposed.
I'll also accept the motion to include Tom Ryder's recommendations as part of that project.
Correct?
All those in favor?
Tom, aye.
Joyce,
Thank
I.
you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, everybody. I think I'm trying to stop presenting here. I guess is it this button.
Thank you, Greg.
That work? Okay. Still getting used to all these Teams and Zoom meetings.
All right, Jack, we're gonna move on to the next, we're gonna move on to B18 Lovell Street. Tom Ryder, it's all yours.
Yeah, so is anybody here from 18 Lovell Street? Not, I can just go into it. The applicant is seeking an offset to groundwater. They're proposing to construct a Presby system as a repair. The approval letter allows for a 2-foot offset under local upgrade conditions. It requires a deed notice to be recorded on the property prior to certificate of compliance. System otherwise meets all the requirements except for the fact that Mendon Board of Health requirements are 2-compartment septic tanks, which was not shown on the plan. So we're going to ask the engineer to revise the plans to show a 2-compartment tank. Otherwise, everything meets the requirements.
all right, Joyce, I see you with your hand raised.
I didn't think I did have my hand raised, but I reviewed the plan and I agree with Tom.
Anyone else? All right, Tom Ryder, I do see in the application for the local upgrade that it is a 1,500 gallon tank, dual chamber septic tank.
Yes, it's not shown on the plans though.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Unless I missed it. But I did look for that.
No, Tom, thank you very much. That's important.
Tom Fickner?
I did have a couple of questions on the application itself. Just trying to bring that up. Bear with me a moment.
Is it the local upgrade or the application?
The application, well, let's see, let me just make sure I'm talking apples to apples with you, Tom. It would be the application for local upgrade approval.
I do have it on screen, Tom, if you want to take a look at the screen.
Yeah, I have it up myself. Thank you.
All right.
So just a question. Looks like the second page under proposed upgrade of system. There's a section in there about if the proposed upgrade involves a reduction in the required separation between the bottom of the soil absorption. You see that section, Tom?
Yeah, reduction in separation between the SAS and high groundwater.
Yeah, it had. I didn't recognize the name on there. It's a Sean Towell.
Toll, yeah, John Toll, I know him. Yeah,
There's just a line in that description above it. It mentions the soil evaluator must be a member or agent of the local approving authority.
So that's Steve Donatelli. So that's just a, so Sean Toll probably did the evaluation, but the witness has to be the local approving authority, so the evaluator, which is Steve. So it should have been Steve listed there as well.
So technically, Steve should be listed on here
as well.
as well.
As well, yeah.
Okay. And then the other thing on the last part on certification, with the people basically say, I, the facility owner, certified, blah, blah, blah. It had a signature of one person and then a printed name of another. Don't normally those two, are they the same thing, same person?
Well, they're husband and wife, I think. That's what happened there. He's probably there as the owner, but that's husband and wife. They live together in the house.
Okay. Just caught my eye.
Attention to detail, Tom. I
You
love
know,
it.
that's what we got to do, you know?
All hands on deck tonight.
So if, yeah, Tom's fine with everything.
Okay,
Okay
so
by me.
we'll get Steve Donatelli's name added to that line, along with the soil evaluator, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I think Tom actually brought up a good point though, just to make, husband and wife, they live together, but they both got to understand that this is it's actually not a restriction, it's just a deed notice that there's a Presby system on site. So it doesn't restrict, it's just going to be recording onto their record that they're going to have a Presby system. And it's a remedial system. So, so that as well. So we'll, Jack and I will reach out to the engineer of record and have him fix those items and make sure that he lets the property owners know
Right,
I
yeah.
think there's a pending sale coming up pretty soon too, so.
All right, very good. So, can I have a motion reflecting those, additions to the Form 9A? Please.
I make a motion that we approve this with noting the restrictions that we have stated on the application.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Tom, I.
Joyce, I.
Alan, I. Thank you very much. All right. All right. We move on to the next. Tom Ryder, you're up again with well regulation update.
Yeah, so I was just talking to Jack this morning. Unfortunately, I don't have any updates other than there's been some questions regarding clarifications on for testing when sales are pending of houses. So, Jack, correct me if I'm wrong. Like people have been asking you regarding sales of houses and what is included in the basic scan for water quality testing.
That is correct.
Yeah. So what I was going to add into the regulations, basically what I think basic scans are, which include the nitrogens, alkalinity, chloride, sodium, and I think I have a bunch of other items, but I did not include the volatiles. No, I didn't say VOCs or metals unless there is a reason to add them, such as if they have experience in that area for having high concentrations. So what is the board's thoughts on these for basic scans? If you guys have your old regulations.
Can I talk?
Yep. Yes. Oh, sorry. Go
Oh,
ahead.
are you Tom? Well, I just wanted to say, just today, I'm on the Worcester, the Health Foundation of Central Mass. And I just, in fact, got a thing in my email this afternoon, late this afternoon, when I came into my studio. And actually, it's talking about legislation filed to promote safe drinking water quality for all. And there's a lot of things in there that they talked about, for water quality. But one of the things that they were talking about was there are no statewide regulations to ensure private well water is safe from harmful contaminants such as PFAS, arsenic, radon, uranium, and more. In contrast, the public water systems are regulated by the state and are subject to more routine monitoring. But I have to go through it again, but I think that maybe what we should do is just, do a little bit of research about this, because there's a big grant that goes with this from the Worcester County, the Health Foundation. So I haven't had a chance to do any research, but I'll have it I'll make copies and send it to everybody, and you, Tom, as well. Okay? And just.
Yes, the EPA is coming up with some more guidelines as well.
Right. Yeah, that's what this is. Somewhere in there it says that too, but I don't want to take up all the time to do that, but I will make copies of it. I'm sorry that, I just got it. So, but I will do that, and then maybe we can just postpone to another meeting. Would that be okay?
Yes.
For me, that'll be fine, especially, I think I just want to put a thought into your heads regarding is there going to be a difference between a new well and a, perhaps a sale, a property sale, versus our recommendations? So we can always put in a longer list of recommendations, or we can keep the recommendations the same as the requirements. But usually when somebody calls and says, hey, I have a private well, what should I test for? I said, well, do you have a complete scan of VOCs, metals like such in arsenics?
Yeah,
So I usually go into the coliform bacteria, the nitrites and nitrates,
right. Iron and manganese,
iron and manganese, alkalinity, conductivity,
right,
these are
right.
pretty much standards that a lab can just package together. And then
Right.
they'll have supplemental packages. So if you want volatile organic compounds, then that's another different package.
Right. Well,
And I don't recommend.
I'll send this to you because this is, I think is interesting because of what they're recommending, so, and then maybe we can get together to make it clearer because to me, I mean, what's the difference if you're selling it or if you're drinking it every day? You really should be testing for everything, in my opinion, I mean, even though it's a pre-existing well, I think everybody would want to know that, they're not giving their newborn baby baths in radon water or something,
Right.
But I'll send this to you and then we, I would hope that we could talk about it again, because I didn't have a chance to really do it because I got it just before I started trying to sign in again.
All right, Tom Fickner.
Yeah, the email you're referring to, Joyce, I don't know if it's the one that the board received last week that Jack sent us, or is it, if it's something different? Yeah, this one is from an Elizabeth Chopkey from Safewell.
Oh, no, yes, I got that as well, but no, this is, I don't know, can you see this there? It's,
Health Foundation.
yeah, it's from the Health Foundation.
Okay.
Central
Yeah, I found
Mass.
the information in that email, very
Yes.
very
yeah,
informative and had some
Right.
very good guidelines that we may want to consider
Yeah.
to incorporate, because specifically the email had to do with water quality testing for property transfer.
Yeah.
And there's some good recommendations in there that we may want to consider. Maybe this is something that Jack, you
Right.
can forward over to Tom as well, so we can kind of review
Right.
that along with the other info.
Yeah, he
Right.
was part of the info chain.
Oh, great,
And
okay.
I think that on that letter, she was also trying to encourage people to have their wells checked out. And I don't remember now if it was yearly or how often, but I thought she was saying that even people that aren't selling their house, that are living there, need to be checking.
Right.
Ellen?
First thing is no, I'm sorry.
Alan, you're on mute.
All right, all fixed. No, Tom, that's a great suggestion. And I appreciate, Joyce, your other affiliation, bringing some of that information in also. Thank you.
Joyce?
I'm good. I just, I agree that we should spend some more time about it,
All right, Tom Ryder, any other additional information?
Yeah, I think, Joyce is right. I mean, and you can actually even go in more simple for the typical homeowners, like know where your well is located, first of all. And know how to
Exactly.
protect it. Don't park your car over the well, don't discharge chemicals nearby, or even in the ground for but know where it is, first of all.
I think I heard you enunciate your R's pretty good in that statement there, Tom. Are you really a Bostonian?
No, maybe I hang out with too many. St. Patrick's Day was last week, so I have a friend who he would go to Southie for St. Patrick's Day and wouldn't see him for 2 weeks. So
Yeah.
He must have been an Irishman then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was it. Just the simple things first. Know where your well is, and then here are baseline samples that you should know about, and recommended seasonal testing. That you go through, and then as far as regulatory requirements, we can get them on the hook for transfers of property. Probably the easiest way to do it. Make sure that those samplings are submitted at that time because everyone's on septic pretty much. So while they're doing the septic system, we take a sample of the well.
Alan?
Yes, Jack, just before you came on board, we had a pretty long discussion with a possible buyer for 1 Myrtle Street that was very concerned about water quality and asking a lot of questions about what to test for, and had a relative that was very familiar with, water quality. And Tom Ryder, I believe you were maybe on some of those calls. So, people are becoming aware of the importance of good quality water. So we'll proceed in that direction and take the time necessary to make sure that we, cover the bases. Thank you.
Yes, Alan, I think I recall that as well, where the unfortunate incident where the installer located the septic tank in the wrong location and had to move it.
All right, there are no other comments. I think we should move on to number 3 of the agenda. Thank you, Tom. Tom Ryder.
All right.
Thank you, Tom.
Good night. Let me
Thank
know if
you,
you
Tom.
need anything.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Alan, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jack. I guess we continue to sift through the suggestion here, through the draft. We were on permitting last time, and we decided that the permitting didn't seem necessary at this time. So we kind of eliminated quite a few sections by eliminating the permitting. So it looks like we can pick up, if nobody has any objections, to enforcement B. Thank you. Fellow board members, feel free to jump in.
I'm perusing some information that came my way today from a resident
Okay.
that we may want to look at as part of the process for, reviewing for how we want to do wording.
Absolutely.
It was pretty good. It was basically a document that was generally titled "The Background on Municipal Livestock Regulations." And, the concepts of, a Board of Health authority over livestock. It goes also into how to identify generally accepted agricultural practices as well. But I don't want to detract. I know we're on enforcement, but this will be something I'll send to you folks as we kind of go through this process.
No, thank you, Tom. This obviously is just going to take, multiple meetings to bring to an acceptable regulation. So that's great. We can go back to any section that's necessary.
Well, I would say under enforcement, given the way it's currently worded, it would probably need to change. Potentially, anyway. We'd be acting, if this were to go through as an approved new regulation, we'd probably want to phrase it as such as opposed to, I don't know if nuisance would necessarily still apply, but
I thought that would be a good, way to start that, because it was a nuisance. It was, people were being annoyed. So, I mean, it's not like breaking a law yet. It's the nuisance if there is a violation of this regulation. It includes both.
yeah. And I do, as I recall, we did make note about wanting to incorporate the Agricultural Commission
Right.
as part of this, right? So that's good.
Well, and that kind of gives us the ability, the way B is written at this particular time, to definitely respond not only as a member of the Board of Health or our animal inspector, but to also tap someone from the Agricultural Committee to come along.
Right.
Yeah. I think actually letter B kind of does what I had in mind, where it actually combines nuisance, continues, and or if there's a violation of the regulation.
Right.
Do we want to rename B as A at this time?
Well, I mean, I think I think A is the way it's coming through as a start. I think the presentation of A is a good start.
Okay, so we'll rename it as A, seeing that A was eliminated.
We
A
eliminated
was
it?
added.
I'm sorry?
A was added.
A was added. My error. Thank you.
Yeah, I like that as a start for this section.
Okay. The only problem is I skipped over A.
Oh.
I don't know my alphabet.
Well, it was colored in yellow, so you thought that it was eliminated.
Yep, that's what happens. I just went right through the violations and everything. So let's go back to A. And obviously that Tom, I'm sure you're gonna be happy with, because it pretty much spells out everything you just said. And
Yeah.
probably a better letter A.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, I agree. It sounds really good. I like it. I'm glad you guys put that in there.
Yeah, so basically A is kind of saying we're deferring to the Agricultural Commission as a first line of response.
Right, and that
Right.
gives us that ability to answer a potential complaint with education first.
Correct.
Right. That's right. And that,
No, I
I
like that.
think that's how we should do every one, every kind of thing, is educate first and then to come down with the hammer after.
Okay, so A and B are in good order,
Right.
following
Yeah.
my alphabet here. So let's proceed, unless someone has an objection, to C.
I'm going to bring something up that I got in my email today. Bear with me. Where did I put that?
All right, while you're looking for that, I'll reach
Yeah.
out. I'll reach out to Gregory for a moment. I know Gregory has a rooster in the neighborhood. Is that rooster behaving, Gregory?
Are you referring to me as Gregory? Or is there
I
someone else?
am.
Oh, I didn't know we had a rooster in the neighborhood.
Yeah, almost across the street and to the left of you.
Wow. Okay.
So obviously that rooster is behaving.
I would say so. Yeah, I have not heard that. I would say all I hear is birds. A lot of birds.
I'm very glad to hear that, and I hope the peace continues for you.
Birds, ducks, and geese. That's all I hear.
I located what I was looking for.
All right, Tom.
And there was something, this came from a resident with regard to the section we're actually talking about for enforcement. And it was, suggestion was made, would it make sense to define what the grounds of complaint need to be? AKA can only direct a butter's complaint. I'm not sure what that means, to be honest with you. The second part was, is the complaint about the noise or about violating this? And they refer to it as a bylaw, but it would be a regulation, et cetera.
Okay, so this is coming from the gentleman on Washington Street, I believe.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Tom, thank you. Yeah, no, I read through most of that, not all of it.
Thoughts on that?
Which
Who on
one, which
Washington
one? are you-
Street has a rooster? I haven't heard one.
Right,
so-
because it's it's.
Well behaved.
Contained, yes, yeah.
All
They're
right,
doing all the
Ellen
right things.
Yeah.
Ellen Gould has her hand raised. Ellen?
Hi, would it, this is just a question, would it help to define what a nuisance is? That might answer the question from the email, you know, is a nuisance only pertain to, I mean, the way we've been talking about this, it's noise, it's excessive noise. But do you have to define what a nuisance is? The way at the first page, we defined what what a rooster is and what the other things are. So it's just a question.
Oh, good question. I think we should have it publicly defined. I know in general, Board of Health, from a Board of Health overall perspective, nuisance has a definition in the Mass General MGL guidelines in Massachusetts. But here I know we're kind of getting a little specific with regard to a particular type of livestock. So maybe we need to tailor.
I think somewhere along the line, we have something that talks about that in terms of the time that the rooster is allowed to crow. So I think that would be what, if that rooster, and I think it should be from 10 to 7, 10 o'clock at night till 7 o'clock in the morning. If he crows within that time, he's being a nuisance. Right, and that's in here somewhere, but it said 9 and it was crossed, I believe the 9 was crossed out, or it was.
No, it was 10
highlighted.
before. It was 10 before, but I went back to the Ag Commission's good housekeeping of roosters, and it was 9 to 7. So I changed it back to 9. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, I think, in this day and age, it should be 10, but hey, I'm a late owl, so what do I know?
Well, I think somebody brought up a point at the last meeting about the time frame, and part of that might have to do with the season that we're in.
Right,
So your days go longer, of course, in the summer, so it's light out longer. So people are out and about longer, looking to enjoy their properties versus the wintertime, they're kind of inside, right? So.
They're
I don't
high.
know.
but I would, to me, it's like when you go to bed or something.
Well, I go to bed
Why
at
would
9
you-
o'clock.
Oh, why would you care if it was crowing if you're just in the house watching TV or, I don't know, is Richard Green here today? Because, yeah,
No, but I do have Alan with his hand raised. Alan. And you're on mute.
And we do have Ann Mazzarelli on with a hand raised.
Yep, she's after Alan.
Yep.
I apologize. So if we put something in the definition section, I know we're going backwards a little bit as to defining a nuisance in this case, and we include the good housekeeping rule that was suggested to us by the Ag Committee of any, a rooster that crows beyond the hour of 9 or 10 p.m. and before the hour of 7 a.m. And we call that the nuisance. That would cover basically the complaints that we've received about a rooster. And we can put that in the definition section. And then in this section here, when we see the word nuisance, it's already been defined. Just my 2 cents.
yeah, I agree.
Next person in line, please.
Ann Mazzarelli.
Yes, hi. Thank you for letting me speak. Yeah, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock is way too late. 9 o'clock is questionable. We had that rooster next to us. It crowed very late at night, and we like to enjoy our yard, sit out on our deck and have dinner at night. And to hear that thing crowing constantly is not pleasant. So I think originally we mentioned anything after 7 p.m. 8 p.m. is a possibility, but after that, I think it's too late. Thank you for letting me speak.
Sure, thank you, Ann. And I believe on the initial addressing of complaints in that area, I think the board did put in its letter at the time, 7 to 7.
You are correct.
Am I remembering that correctly?
Yes.
Yeah.
But in
That
keeping
was-
with line with the AgCom, I changed it to 9 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Right.
Right. The seven must have been before I got on the board.
It was. Yeah. But it's a valid concern, when you do get into using your properties in the days when they go longer. The other element, it's one thing to define the hours. It's only part of it. The other thing, of course, would be the regularity and the frequency comes into play when I think a Board of Health is acting on a nuisance. So the board would have to be of reasonable mind in its approach to apply it. So, for example, we know the initial issue that pretty much fell in the category of pretty much consistently a problem. Whereas the other one we were addressing, which eventually got resolved, that seemed to be more not as much of a regularity to it as the initial one. So therein lies the fine line on taking steps with regard to just using nuisance. Right? Thoughts?
Alan?
All right, so if I understand this correctly, nuisance is gonna have a couple components. It's gonna have frequency, how often this is happening, as one component of the nuisance. It's gonna have, I'll call it operating hours. Someone can correct me on that and come up with a better term as to what is allowable or not allowable for the rooster to crow. So that would be our 8, 9, 10 p.m. to 7 a.m., whatever we, find is most agreeable. Breaking this down, board members, are there any other components that you think would apply to a nuisance? Is there a third component?
I might say maybe if a rooster gets out and starts attacking people, that becomes a nuisance.
That's a good
Okay,
one.
Jane, thank you. So we'll call it the good neighbor policy.
Exactly.
Well, that could also come into the housing element that Ellen put forth some very good guidelines on
Okay,
for
right?
us, right?
All right,
So
so far we have probably three main components that if they were not adhering to, we would qualify that as a nuisance. All right, so Tom, you brought up frequency. Why don't you start us off as to what you feel, you know, I mean, obviously, if a rooster were to do this once, it could be, I'd like to say, a fluke. The rooster didn't go inside, you know, the housing at the time the rooster was supposed to. I mean, how much how many frequent events, how many events before it becomes hazardous? What do you think?
that's a good question. That's a
Yeah.
loaded question
That's
too.
why I called on you, Tom.
Thank you. Well, not being in the neighborhood that's been affected the most so far, I guess we'd probably have to look at what would be, or base it on a reasonable viewpoint of the regularity of complaints that we receive. You know, are we getting a complaint once a week? Are we getting a complaint 3 times a week? Once a week may not constitute to the level of it becoming a nuisance, whereas 3 times a week, well, now you got some regularity there.
Well, that's almost 50% of the week.
Yeah. But for those impacted, potentially once is once too many. Right? Oh.
Well, our folks that have dialed in that have experienced this firsthand, Ellen, Ann, Richard, raise your hand and give us a suggestion, please.
I mean,
Jack,
we could
I'll let you-
always, oh, sorry.
Ian?
Okay, so in our situation, it was every day, probably 4 or 5 times an hour, every couple of hours. It was intermittent, but if it's once a week, it's not a big deal. But if it's very frequent, and I mean, you can hear this with the windows closed and fans on. I mean, that's how the caliber of the noise is. And if it's as Tom said, more than 3 days a week, definitely a problem. If it's once a week and it happens intermittent, that's not a big deal. But in our situation, it was every day, every so many hours, and then maybe 6 or 7 times in 1 hour. All hours of the night and morning. So it's really kind of hard to tell, because you don't know if the neighbor is approached, if they're gonna, pay attention and be respectful and try to stop it, or if they're just gonna say, oh, the heck with it, let them deal with it. So it's really a hard question to answer, but yeah, I would say if it's more than 3 times a week, then it could be a problem. And then it's how many times per hour, and how many times a day. So
Okay, Richard? Richard Green, you're on mute. There you go.
Am I okay now?
Yep, you're good.
I agree with Ann said. Our worst time was.
Lots of rumors that they're married.
Our worst time was when it would go every night, 2 o'clock in the morning, etc., and every night. So I agree with Ann said. Every now and then isn't a problem. Once a week, that type of thing. But if you're continually being woken up during the night with the crowing of a rooster, is bothersome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. Yeah, it gets into quality of life, no doubt.
Exactly.
So, could I say something? So perhaps, what we could do is we could act upon every complaint and see what the, what the complaint is, because otherwise it's so vague. This is vague, that's too restrictive. But can we not deal with the complainant and, say, okay, gee, you're right, that sounds terrible, and we'll take care of it. Or, which I think we did for Ann and Richard, and, and in my opinion, I don't think you're ever going to have to worry about it from a point from the people next door to Ann, because she was pretty clear that she was going to wring his neck if there was another rooster there. So.
All right, Ellen Gould.
Hi. I hear you, Joyce, but I think if you get one complaint, I mean, really, do you act on it? I would think that maybe 3 complaints and then you
Right.
step forward,
That's what
thing.
that's what I'm saying. I
Okay.
mean, I think we have to say, well, wait a minute, how long has this been going on? Is it
Right.
going all day? Is it just one crow? And yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Okay,
Alan.
that's all.
Okay, well, if we're gonna break this down into components to define the nuisance, I think what I'm hearing, and we can always adjust this, we can always go back through it, but for now, I think what I'm hearing is if it's a frequency of 3 times a week or more would cover that component of a nuisance. So I'm gonna pencil that in. Let's go to what I called operating hours. Unless someone has a better term for it, and I'm sure someone does, but we kind of seem to be in agreement of 7 a.m., not before 7 a.m. It's the beginning side, whether it's 8, 9, or 10. So let's see if we can come to some sort of an agreement on that end.
Ellen.
As being a past livestock owner, and certainly I've had chicken for many years, I don't have them now. It's hard to get home from work and get all your chores done and your chickens away by 7 p.m. Just that's my 2 cents. So I would like to see it personally later than 7, because I think that's that's a lot to ask, especially in the summer. The winter, it's not a problem because they're not out hardly at all. But in the summer or anytime, if you're working and you get home, and if you're a person that doesn't get home till 6:30 at night, popping them chickens into the coop at 7 that's a I don't know, you're asking a lot. So I'm not opposed to a later close up hour.
Suggestion?
I myself have, having had chickens as well. And I'm thinking that we're requiring only 1 rooster, right?
Right.
No more than 1. So to me, 9 o'clock is reasonable. Again, and in the winter it's dark. So by and large, hopefully they're in their little cubby and they're not doing that. And if we get a complaint, and if we get more complaints, then I think then we can act accordingly. But to me, 9 o'clock seems a reasonable time. I thought 10 would be better, but I'm definitely willing to go to 9.
How about if we split the difference and call it 8:30?
No, I like 9. And
Tom, what's-
Ellen does too.
I was trying to be Solomon there for a second. Oh, well.
Tom, what's your opinion?
Okay, I don't know, it's out of my wheelhouse. I mean, I'm thinking, I've never had them, I've never raised them. I have a deep respect for those that do it. One of the reasons I've remained in town, I like the agricultural element of the community. I don't want to dissuade people from doing it. I think it's a great thing that folks can do. It's a tough one. I mean, we could, like you say, Alan, we could say go with 9, and then for some reason, if we ran into a situation or multiple situations where that time became an issue, then we could roll it back,
Right,
right?
yep.
Alan?
Jane Belleville, member of the Agricultural Committee, animal lover. What's your opinion on this, please?
I think it has to kind of be by case. You're not going to be able to say, oh, that rooster crowed 3 times. We must, do something about it. It's more like the Greens. I mean, I really felt sorry for them when they were having their problems. And this is the first I've heard about Ann having problems. If it becomes consistent, then we, if one rooster crows at 2 a.m. once, you're gonna condemn the people?
All right. What do you think is a reasonable hour in the evening for a rooster to be put to bed, no longer making noise?
Again, I agree that during the summer, it's going to be more difficult because no matter how opaque you make that place, they're still going to be subjected to the normal diurnal rhythms of their bodies. They may crow a little bit later.
All right. Well, we've sort of got suggestions that are as early as 8 and as late as 10.
I say 9 because that's when I go to bed.
All right. All right. So I'm gonna say that 9 o'clock, especially during the summer, should be good for both the residents and the rooster
Yeah.
at this time. So we'll call the operating hours the quiet hours. That's better. We're gonna make it quiet hours should be from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. And hopefully that's going to be good for both the roosters and the owners.
And we have to make sure that these roosters, especially during the summer, are in well ventilated coops because they can overheat. You may find a roasted rooster.
No, that's a great suggestion. And, I think the Ag Committee covered, housing quite well, but we'll look at it again and make sure that ventilation is included in that. Thank you, Jane.
You're welcome.
All right. The last component was the rooster has to be a good neighbor. Do we need to explain that? All right. So we'll leave it as the good neighbor policy, or good being a good neighbor for now. And that will give us the definition of a nuisance that will appear with the definitions so that we can refer to that in the following pages. So I'm going to go back to letter C under enforcement. And I'm going to ask my fellow board members if C is in order. If we like C at this time.
I kind of like it.
We have Jane Belleville with her hand raised.
Yeah. Why did we remove the removal of the nuisance?
We didn't,
Only, I would say that would only be in the case, Jane, where nothing else is working. To
Right,
try to mitigate, right?
right. But I mean, that's why I would like to see it kept in actually with a, an addendum saying
That's
prolonged.
not, it's not crossed out, Jane.
Yeah,
That's-
that is
that-
included, Jane.
Oh,
That's
okay.
included.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Alan?
Ellen, thank you. That was what I was going to, now that I'm following along correctly, that's what I was gonna say. So that whole paragraph, or all those lines for C are included. Thank you. All right, do we, can we follow, along? If anybody has any, whoop, we got a raised hand, hit me.
Just an off question on this. Do we have someplace to house these roosters in case we do have to take possession of them?
I thought they were going to your kitchen.
They might. Just something to think about.
Yeah, we'll put your address.
Yeah.
All right, so for now, let's move on to D if we can, please. And see if, we have, agreement or suggestions for changes for letter D under enforcement.
Well, it's an enforceable statement. I don't know if we actually need to define or spell out what that fine structure.
Well, if we go, to violations, we have spelt that out,
Oh, very good. Thank you.
which is, right above enforcement.
There you go. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? The letter D under enforcement? All right, E has been struck at this time. So let's move on to F. Comments on F, please?
I think it's pretty straightforward.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, it works.
All right, so at this time, I think the only thing we can do is we can change F to an E. For good housekeeping.
And just one note, Alan.
Yes, please.
So where we're using the term hearing, do we actually mean a regularly scheduled BOH meeting?
That would be my understanding.
Okay. We may want to change the wording there then. Hearing has a different connotation to it.
Do we want to call it an appearance before the board?
Yeah.
I'm
Sorry, go ahead, Joyce.
I didn't know, I didn't hear what you said, Alan. I'm sorry.
Do we want to change the word hearing to the word appearance. So they would appear before the board.
In which area is that now? I was reading
Section-
another.
Yeah, no worries. Section F,
Okay, all right. Yep,
which is now going to be section E.
okay, yep,
Any person to whom an order has been served pursuant to this section shall have the opportunity to request an appearance, appearance,
right, yep,
for the board.
yep, yeah, because the hearings makes it sound a little more like criminal.
All right, so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna change a hearing to an appearance.
Okay,
And we're gonna change section F to section E, just for good housekeeping.
And there's one other spot further down in that section, Alan, where we use the word hearing. The last sentence.
Yeah. So we'll change that at the appearance.
Well, there you might just want to say at the regularly scheduled Board of Health meeting.
Okay,
You've already changed it to appearance. You have to follow through with appearance later on.
right, that's what he's doing.
That's a good point, Jane. Yeah, to be consistent. So how at the appearance? Yeah, I guess you could say that. I just didn't know if that was good English or not, but yeah, that works. Yeah, 'cause you would want to stay consistent.
okay, so we're gonna change where hearing appears at the hearing to at the appearance. All right, so fellow board members, at this time, why don't we go take a chance? Whoop, there we go. Variances. So section 8, please. If nobody has any objections.
Section 8. Oh, that sounds involved.
Well, the first thing I'm seeing is changing the word hearing in A.
Yeah, an appearance shall be scheduled.
Yeah.
Maybe to kind of loop it around, an appearance shall be scheduled at the next regularly.
Well, I was
scheduled
kind of
Board
thinking
Health
that when I was writing these, but then I was thinking of Ann Mazzarelli's rooster noise nuisance, so I didn't know if like we had like an emergency board meeting type of thing to try and solve it instead of waiting 2 more weeks. So I didn't know if that would be something to consider or not.
meeting? Oh, yeah. Well, that's a good thought.
Like we keep it at the 14 days at the regular scheduled meeting, but if it's really like an
Right.
emergency situation, obviously it's gonna be less than the 14 days.
All right, an appearance shall be scheduled at the next available opportunity? Is that too vague?
Well, let's think about this a little bit. Because it's not saying that somebody will have visited the property there, you know, I would say if, you know, if after somebody has already approached them and said, you know, look, you have to do this and that and the other thing, and it's a continued situation, you know, not going on for, you know, months, but you know what I'm saying? Is that making any sense?
Yes, actually you are, because if they've been visited, then the appearance should, if they continue, then the
Right.
appearance should be as soon as possible.
Right. So if they've visited and then they do what they're supposed to do and, you know, put him in his little house and keep him, you know, quiet and blah, blah. You know, I mean, that's not falling into place for me for some reason.
Well, we actually could get a variance under the scenario where there hasn't been an issue yet, but the person is looking to seek a variance to what would be defined in the regulations for some particular reason before an issue were to occur.
Well, you mean if they saw a rooster in the yard and they think, well, he may be gonna go make some crowing noises while I'm going to bed?
Well, just in the case where somebody could be maybe making a preemptive strike, so they become aware there's, say, regulations in place in the town, and this particular person would like to apply for a variance to whatever gets approved in this regulation. And so they're requesting it in writing to the board. So basically then at that point, once we receive that request, we would schedule it. Right? I mean, as soon as possible or at the next Board of Health meeting, could put it on the agenda type thing. So it may actually be a discussion as opposed to somebody responding to a response from, say, our health agent or something, you know, they might be taking a preemptive strike.
Well, would you give me an example of what a variance would be then in this case?
Yeah, that's my question also. What is a variance in this particular regulation and permitting?
Good question. Should we even have a variance option?
Alan, just chime right in, Alan.
All right, thank you. I was looking at a variance. If we go back to section 4, general requirements, we have, I'm looking at C and D, no more than 1 rooster per acre. Maybe someone is really good at doing what they do and would like to have another rooster and has had no complaints and has, you know, the rooster has behaved and they'd like to try to multiply their flock more and they want to have, you know, a second rooster. That I think would be considered a variance. The same thing with D. What if it's a lot that doesn't allow the 150 feet from all abutters, but
Right.
they've been keeping roosters. They want to enlarge their coop. They've been a good neighbor. They've, you know, been a good caretaker of the roosters. So that's sort of what I was thinking of. Thank you.
So to get back to that 150 feet from all abutters, would we want to say from the property line of all abutters, and so that it's not confused with the house?
All right, I have Tom Fickner. Let's start with Ellen because she is waving at the screen.
Sorry. Joyce, I think the 150 was from abutters because it corresponded with the decibels, you know, how loud a rooster is at a certain number of feet. So that's why we went 150 feet.
Right, from the property line.
No, from the abutter's house, because the noise that they can make can be substantial. So these complaints come about because the neighbors can hear a lot of noise, not just a little
Right.
noise,
Okay.
a very high pitched noise. And the decibel level lowers the further away you go. So
Right.
really everything we read about the decibel levels of roosters, it was 150 feet was a reasonable level of noise. So
Okay.
it wasn't just from the property line, it was from the abutters.
Okay.
So, I mean, you could change it, but I'm just saying why, that's why it was there. And now that I understand what the variance would be, I agree, you do need that we keep the variance, but I think you probably need more than 14 days, because if a person's requesting a variance, I would hope that the Agricultural Commission would be contacted and we would go out and look and see why are they doing that? Are they a hobbyist? Are they a good hobbyist? Are their roosters under control? I mean, there used to be, before COVID, up in Spencer, one of the biggest poultry shows in New England. So there's a lot of people that raise poultry and chickens for show. And if they're a really fancy breeder, they might be good with 2 roosters. They might have like bells and whistles for their chicken coop. So I'm all for a variance, but I think it should have a time frame that someone could go and look and see why they're asking for the variance and see if
Alright.
they're complying with everything.
All right, Tom Fickner, then Alan.
Yeah, so as an extension, Ellen, to what you just said, there was something that was brought to us by another resident regarding this specific item, where we state currently the rooster shall be located at a distance of 150 feet from all the butters. So the viewpoint from this resident is that they felt there to be some ambiguity here. Butters could be taken to mean either property lines or physical buildings. And their thought is that the definition of property line would be unnecessarily restrictive. So they would propose something like, the rooster shall be located at a distance of 150 feet from all residential building within abutting parcels.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Alan?
Yeah, I'm all for that. My actual comment was gonna be 150 feet from all abutters dwellings. But Tom, I think the suggestion that you brought up from a resident is even more definition. So I would definitely add that to that line. And then if we want to go back to what we were talking about, Ellen brought up a good point about people from the Ag Committee and other concerned, maybe our animal inspector, maybe 14 days for a variance isn't enough. So if we changed it to 28 days, that should catch our next scheduled meeting. And we do have that, if not sooner, in there. So we could change the 14 to 28 and still catch our meeting cycle. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And, that's trying to work with everybody at the same time.
The only question I have is during the springtime when people are picking up their chicks and their roosters and everything, you may not have that time frame to work in to get the variance before the chick needs to be picked up.
Correct. And we do have that, if not sooner.
Okay.
So, we could kind of take that case by case. So my suggestion at this time, based on what I'm hearing, is we change the 14 days to 28 days. And we have an option there where we have the, if not sooner. So as Jane brought up, if someone has a situation that we would interfere with what they're trying to do, we can attempt to address the variance sooner. if it were possible. Unless anybody has any objections to that. And again, we're gonna go back to the section 4, and after abutters, we're gonna add the suggestion from a resident that Tom has been in contact with, and we're gonna go beyond abutters. And Tom, why don't you give me again what we should add there, please?
Okay, excuse me. So the phrasing would be, the rooster shall be located at a distance of 150 feet from all residential building within abutting parcels.
Residential building within abutting parcels. Okay, so we're dropping abutters and adding residential buildings within parcels.
Well, within abutting parcels.
Okay, thank you. All right. Let us see under variances. Pretty straightforward. Any comments or suggestions on the letter C under variances, please?
I think we were gonna add where we say on a variance when it deems it appropriate and reasonable
Okay,
to protect the public health. At least that was a notation from the last meeting. We may not have publicly raised that thought.
nope, that's fine. I like that. You can't go wrong.
Again, our whole goal would be to, when these situations occur, would be that education will become the solution, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course, the person we're trying to educate has to be willing to accept the
Or
education.
else they get smacked.
Walk
we
softly, but carry a big stick, right, Jane?
That was the old days, Jane.
Still works.
All right, section 9, severability, please. Letter A.
I don't think we had any thoughts to change that at all.
All right. Everybody okay with letter A under section 9?
I seem to be missing section 9. Oh, no, section 9. Okay, got it.
Yeah, it's right under section 8.
Yeah, sorry.
No worries.
It's
Thank you,
been a
Joyce.
very long day.
Oh, I know.
And I think on section 10, I think I was supposed to send something to Jack and I didn't
Uh-huh.
because it was blank. Does that ring a bell, Jack?
It is blank because we haven't put in any effective date on it as of yet, unless you. I don't
Well,
know
it
what
had-
you.
Yeah, it had a draft thought, something like the effective date of these residential rooster regulations shall be implemented immediately upon determination of a majority vote by the Board of Health.
And then we'll fill in the date after the vote.
Exactly.
I like that.
Sounds good to me.
So along those lines of that thought of an effective date, just to address another item that was raised by a resident. So the element of pre-existing condition or the creation of a pre-existing condition clause, AKA moving to the nuisance. What they were describing here is a concern where a conforming use could become non-conforming with the construction of a new building in town. The example is somebody has roosters in keeping with they use the term bylaw, but in keeping with the regulation, but the abutter subdivides and builds an abutting residential property within 150 feet. Now there is a nonconformity that was caused by decisions on the abutting property. The feeling here is that there should be protections in the regulation for the rooster owner in this situation, in keeping with the principle of quote unquote moving to the nuisance / pre-existing nuisance, unquote.
All right, we do have Richard Green with his hand raised. Richard? Richard, no?
I started to hear him.
Okay,
Yeah.
Alan?
Oh,
No.
Here he
there
comes
you hear
back.
me now?
There he is.
There you go,
Back.
there you go.
Sorry.
Mr. Green, please.
All right.
Justin.
I'm not sure if it was addressed earlier, but if we have a complaint, is that covered what we do? If we have to complain to the Board of Health or Agricultural Commission in this?
So what the actionable steps would be, Richard, is what you're asking?
Yeah, like, how do we get it for someone to start all this other process?
Gotcha.
I would say you do what you've done in the past is you call the Board of Health.
Okay,
What the regulation is gonna do is hopefully give us a little bit of teeth, because we're gonna be able to refer directly to a regulation that's been approved by the Board of Health and is on file and pre-existing. Rather than us going the route that we've had to go in the past, which is to go to the definition of a nuisance under the MGL statute, which is at the state level. This is going to be at the town level. So we're hoping, along with education, this is going to give us the ability to act more swiftly, I would say, because there's going to be a regulation, and I stress the word regulation, in place. Thank you.
all right, thank you.
Any thought on that past, on that other scenario?
We have Ellen Gould with the hand raised.
Yeah, I would say that my personal feelings on this would be, if someone builds a new, like you said, they subdivide, someone builds a house, I think the rooster people get to keep their rooster until they move from that property. So I like, so if someone, so yeah, I don't think it's right to say, if someone subdivides and all of a sudden you can't have your hobby any longer, you can't have your pet rooster and chickens. I think that has to, yeah, I think they get to keep it. That's my 2 cents.
Alan?
I think we shouldn't allow them to subdivide their lot and build a house close to the rooster pen, because the rooster's been behaving. No, Tom, that suggestion from a resident is definitely a good one. And along with Ellen, I agree that, subdividing and building so that now the rooster coop doesn't fit within the 150 feet, they shouldn't be penalized. So,
Yeah, or even if they put an addition on their house or something, and then all of a sudden it's no longer the required footage, they don't get rid of their roosters. I mean, that would be cruel.
no, good point.
I agree with that as well.
Tom?
Yeah, I was going to say one other element that was put out there, kind of a general comment, kind of wraps up this, the overall presentation from this resident. No, we're probably, from his perspective, that probably showed there are many people, in town in violation of this proposed regulation already based on lot size or shape. Is it the intent of this regulation to be retroactive or only target new coops or new roosters? Fellow board members?
Well, again, I think that it's,
Or even open up to the larger audience as well. Thoughts on that
oh, sorry.
concept?
Yeah, I think that it's difficult to do that. I think that, pre-existing, if they have their pre-existing things and they're in conformity and they don't have a problem and nobody's had a problem before with them, that, that they can do what they've been doing. I would say.
So
Alan?
if you, I
Oh,
was going
sorry, go
to
ahead, Tom.
just to add to that. So if we had a situation, an existing property that currently has a setup, and for whatever reason, a problem developed, we're saying that we're not going to be applying this regulation to that situation, but we somehow have to try to address the issue, right?
The issue, right,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Alan Greenberg?
Or Ellen, actually, Ellen might be up.
Yeah, no, I agree with what Joyce said. I think the regulation in its entirety should be from the date that it's signed forward. However, there are parts of the regulation that should apply to any rooster being kept in town, because there are parts of the regulation that affect the public health.
Right.
So anything prior to the effective date of this regulation has to be seen on a case-by-case basis. So if we have someone who has a rooster and chickens, and
Right.
they're not, let's say, within the 150 feet that the regulation states from the residential dwelling of all their abutters, until there's a problem, there's no need to act on it. But when there is a
Right.
problem, they
Right.
need to be aware that,
That they have to make some accommodations, yes.
right, I mean, it may be something as simple as the rooster is being a noise nuisance, and you're not within the 150 feet. Maybe it's just a matter of quieting the rooster down by improving the housing. And if that doesn't work, maybe as a suggestion, maybe the rooster coop or the chicken coop could be moved, relocated.
Right.
But I'm not saying that we're going to march in there and tell everybody that is that has roosters and chickens that they have to comply 100% with the regulation. I guess it depends upon what the violation is. It may have nothing to do with where the rooster coop is located. It could just be that the current rooster is misbehaving.
Yeah, he may be out an out and about kind of guy,
There you go.
so wandering about in the whole yard, so.
So I would say probably the best way to word it, and Tom, I know you're going to massage this for me, is, before the effective date of the regulation, you know, each situation will be taken on a case-by-case basis, to bring, you know, the complaint into compliance.
Can you feel my fingers on your neck, Alan?
I can. It feels good, actually.
I think you worded that pretty good.
All right, Ellen Gould.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I agree with Joyce and Alan, that it should go into effect immediately. I mean, and like you guys said, no one's gonna run around the town looking for, you know, to make sure everything's perfect in the existing conditions, but we will find out about it when there is problems. So, and then you'll be able to refer
Right.
back to this. So I think it has to go into effect immediately. That would, I agree with Joyce and Alan.
Another thing that I think that's with all these new rules, it's important for us to put out the information to the public, let everybody know, I mean, people sometimes don't read anything, sometimes they read everything, but I think that either we should say, if you have roosters, come to the Board of Health and pick up the rooster regulations, or put them, I don't know, but education is my thought here,
All right, I have Alan, then Tom.
Again, the Board of Health is here to help any and everyone comply with whatever rules and regulations are in existence or may come into existence in the future. We by no means want to deny anybody the right to live on their property as they see fit. So we're going to continue to try to be as helpful as possible, and follow along with what our mission is to help people comply. And again, these aren't done. We're obviously going to see what the next form of this draft looks like. So it's still a work in progress, and we welcome any constructive suggestions. Thank you.
Tom.
And follow up to Joyce's point about the education aspect, which I think is very important as well. What will be I guess we have to develop an approach for, call it an education outreach about what we're going to be doing here. This comes to fruition, right? As opposed to, just kind of creating the regulation and letting the enforcement be based solely on a complaint. I think it makes sense to do something to get the word out in advance.
Joyce, did you want your hand raised or no?
No, I thought I took it off, but I agree with Tom. I just think we can't hurt by educating the public, and if they don't want to be educated, well, that's another story, but let's make that effort.
So that outreach, I would think then we work hand in hand with Ellen and her group, right?
Yeah, exactly.
To draft the, the best information packet or document that we can to get it out there.
Alan?
Okay, so-
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say.
No, go ahead.
The Agricultural
Al.
Commission, has, we restarted doing some education now that COVID is over, and we held our first farm days last spring, and we'll do it again pretty soon. We didn't pick a date. We haven't met yet, but we can certainly, if this is in effect, when we have our farm days, we can certainly hand this out so people can read it. And that
Right.
can be a step in educating the public.
Right.
Alan Greenberg?
Thank you. All right, so we need to add to section 10 effective date, what Tom has suggested. And we also have to cover, following on Tom's suggestion with his conversation with a resident, the wording so that we cover the pre-existing roosters being housed before the regulations existed, and the fact that, we would kind of take those situations on a case by case basis if there, were a complaint. So at this time, I think we did a good job. We made a lot of progress. I'd like to see an updated draft. Not that I want to give Jack any more to do, but Jack, you're doing such a great job for us. So I'd like to see an updated version for our next meeting.
Okay.
Any other comments or suggestions from anyone that's dialed in tonight? Please raise your hand. All right, thank you all very much, for helping us with this topic. And, I'm sure that we'll be able to find multiple avenues once this is done to make sure that people, know about it, and we make sure that people have the educational paperwork in front of them. Maybe some of this stuff can even be handed out at some of the local places like a Feeds and Needs or Koopman or whoever it is around here that sells poultry in the spring. Wouldn't hurt if there was a one-page informational sheet that maybe some of these shopkeepers could hand out when someone, doesn't matter if they're from Mendon.
That's a
Some-
great idea. That is a great
Yeah,
idea.
makes that kind of a
Yeah.
hobby type purchase.
Yeah. Great.
The
you.
main place.
Yeah, there you go. See
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
So,
Great thought.
And also, how about putting it in that little town paper that we have now?
Yeah, that new paper, yeah.
That's a lot to put into that paper, though. There.
No, just that we're setting up
Oh,
this.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and a link or whatever you call it now, so that
Right.
they access the information. No,
Yeah.
great suggestions.
Good.
All right, thank you all very much for talking about rooster regulations, and we will move on to the next topic, please.
Thank you all.
Good night.
But you're welcome to stick around for the next topic if you so desire.
Yeah, it's
Thank
not
you
9
very
o'clock.
much. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Joyce, before I forget, I'd like to say one thing to you where you're kind of working on some of this along with Tom. Because I was thinking of you. I've been walking with my wife up and down Taft Ave
Uh-huh.
and the town parking lot right across from the beach.
Yeah.
Take a walk by there. I was kind of surprised at the vehicles that are parked there that may be leaking oil, antifreeze. I'm not really sure which.
Is that on the other side, like across from Jimmy Grant?
Right at the town parking lot, right across from the
The
beach.
beach. Oh, because I saw all those big trucks there across from Jimmy Grant, and I said, what are they doing there? But
Yeah,
I'll go
They're,
tomorrow.
yeah, they're only there temporary. I'm talking about the town-owned paved parking lot.
Yeah, okay, I'll go tomorrow.
Only because, I mean, it really doesn't matter whether these vehicles are leaking on town property or they
Right.
were leaking in their own driveways, that may be another source that
Right,
you're looking for to correct.
right.
All right, so let's go to the, this letter. I like the fact that it's one page. Well, we gotta keep people's attention, right?
No kidding. I do. I agree.
Any comments from my fellow board members or anybody that may have dialed into tonight's meeting? Please raise your hand.
Well, I did have an opportunity to provide some added thoughts, and Jack has responded with swift speed and efficiency to include what I thought would be some good additions. So thank you, Jack.
You're welcome. The only thing that I was thinking about for clarification is please complete the form and mail it back to the Board of Health. What type of form are you thinking, Joyce?
Well, I'm just thinking that they should send a copy of their pumping records, that if they have that, if they have a check that shows, that they've paid for pumping, or, anything that they can document when they were last pumped, and that they've been doing it regularly,
Anyone that has a tight tank would have a contract,
Correct.
written
Right.
contract with a pumper.
Right. Yeah, the tight tankers aren't quite as bad as, in my opinion, as the septic system people, you know? But at the same token, you want to make sure that the tight tanks are working working in good form and all that sort of stuff.
On that reply form, do you want them to specify what type of a system they have? Septic system, tight tank, cesspool?
Right.
Well, I wonder if we should just send them the copy of the form itself that the septic pumpers are supposed to send back to us, because that's gonna give us all the information needed. It's gonna say who the homeowner is, who the pumper is, what type of systems they were pumping, how many gallons. They don't have to give us the gallons, but basically it'll give us all the information back.
Right.
Yes,
That
no.
sounds good to me. Maybe you can just massage it a little so that it looks like it's supposed to come from the homeowner versus the septic pumper.
Okay.
Yeah, this is from but if they have a bill that comes from their, pumper, then that would be as good as anything, right? We're just trying to figure out what's happening here,
Right, but hopefully I'm correct, but Jack, that form is gonna designate what type of system.
Yes.
So we're gonna get that information. It's gonna designate the pumper that's either contracted or
Yeah,
they hired to pump at the last
Right.
date.
yep, that's right.
So there should be quite a bit of information on there. The only information that may be on there that you might have to take off is the homeowner might not know the condition when the tank was pumped. They might not understand whether it was light or heavy. I'm trying to remember what that form looks like.
I'm trying to pull it up now.
So you could probably use that form, and there might just be a few things you have to take off it. Because we don't want to frustrate anybody either.
But what can happen is once we get the information from them, we can then approach the pumper. You know what I'm saying? That would know how things looked.
Right.
or
But
the-
that's only if we need to do that.
Right,
All right,
Yeah.
yeah, so far looks good.
yeah,
Date, quantity. Yeah, see, they might not know if there's a T present.
right,
The observed condition, they might not know.
right.
So
But
I
again, if we get to know who their pumper is, then we can, if they don't know it themselves, that we can follow up with the pumper.
Right, but if we're sending this to the homeowner and we want the homeowner to fill it out,
Right,
I don't want to frustrate them. So they're not gonna know the license plate number of the truck.
right,
They're not gonna know the condition of the system when it was pumped unless the pumper expressed it to them.
right,
So there's some things on that form that we need to take off because I
Yeah.
wouldn't want to frustrate anyone.
All
right,
right, I'll keep it simple.
right,
And I mean, even at that, some people might not know whether they have a septic system or a cesspool. They might not know the difference.
right. But if they've had it pumped, then we know that we can go to the pumper because the pumper will know.
Well, correct, or we can go to the pumping records in the Board of Health office and fill
Right.
in the blanks.
Yeah, if he hasn't done it, if.
Right. But,
know.
like I said, we probably just need to take a few things off that form that are very specific so that we don't frustrate a homeowner who's trying to fill it out
Right.
to their ability.
Right,
This is only gonna work if we get stuff back.
right.
So,
But then when we don't get stuff back, then as a part of the task force, we can go and approach the ones that we didn't get back. And then we have a better, then we're not going all over hell's half acre.
agreed. But I'd like
you
to
know.
see that number. I'd like to
Right.
see that number be
And it
as
would be
small as,
minuscule, yes.
yeah, as
me
small as
too,
possible. So,
Me
yeah,
too.
Jack, do a little massaging to that form along with maybe retitling it.
Yep.
And that should help. Good idea.
Great.
Anything else on this topic at this time?
Nope, you done good.
I'm good, thank you. Nice work, Joyce.
Thank you.
Nice work, everyone. Thank you for all your input.
Out of curiosity, have we had any formal communication with Concom regarding
Nothing.
task force? Okay. Did we do a reach out to them, Jack? Just
I didn't reach out to Lonnie.
Okay,
It was supposed to be on last week's agenda item, but with the budget meetings, it got pushed back to, I believe, tonight that they were going to talk about it.
okay. That's fine.
All right, next topic, shops collection and disposal.
So I had a couple of people come in for the shops disposal, little containers that E.L. Harvey provides us.
Mm-hmm.
But I was asked why we didn't have one that like other towns do. And Tom mentioned maybe there was one over at the police station. So I called the police station and they do not have one. They have like a medication, old expired medication drop off in their thing.
Right.
So I was wondering if Mendon Board of Health should purchase a Sharps container for our Board of Health office.
And just so everybody that's listening, I guess nobody's on again, but just to explain what that is.
Well, for the Sharps containers, sharp needles are used for injections, like for diabetes or other medications that are injected. They can't throw their used needles or syringes into the regular trash. They have to be disposed of properly, and that's considered medical waste. So there are some CVSs that will take everybody's needles, but they're like few far in between. Some other towns have like the fire department will take them, but you have to be a town resident type of thing. So it's very hard to get rid of these on your own unless you buy the containers that we provide from the Board of Health, but we only get 12 a year. And they're like $64 for, I think it's a 5-quart container. So I'm just wondering if we should get our own sharps container for the town. We have Penny Bennett with her hand raised. Penny? You're on mute.
Am I on mute?
No, oh, we just heard you. We lost it. There you go. Go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hi, how are you? Penny Bennett, 16 Daniels Road. This is why I joined the meeting tonight. I had been asking, and I don't know where to dispose of sharps. My dog has diabetes, so she gets a shot twice a day. And I have 9 or 10 containers now. I get them in their containers that they're in containers, but I don't know. Can I throw those in the trash, or do I have to dispose of them somewhere? Because nobody will take the containers that I have found. Like, I tried to bring it back to my vet's office. They're like, no, we can't take them. I did ask, I think I asked on one of like the bulletin boards on Facebook, and they're like, no, the town doesn't have anything. Maybe try another town. I don't even know where to dispose of them. I've just been collecting them. So I have 9 containers with 900 needles because each container holds 100 needles.
Alan?
Yeah, I know, I understand exactly, because I was giving B12 shots to a friend, and I have a lot of needles too, and couldn't get.
I know it.
Right.
It's like, what do you do with them? They're just sitting in my garage.
Right.
I keep collecting container after container.
I actually went to the hospital because I'm on the board there, so I could do that and had them, dispose of it for me. But I don't think that that's a public thing that they'll be happy
Right.
about. I think we have to
And
do
does
something. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, does a CVS take, do they, I don't know if there's a difference. I mean, a needle's a needle, right? But I don't know if because it's labeled for animals, do they take it, or are they like, no, we just do people needles? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think they do people needles either at CVS.
Yeah.
Is the container you're using actually marked as being an animal reference?
Well, it says Vet RX on it.
Oh,
I
okay.
believe it says Vet RX on it. So yeah, you can tell it's for animals.
But
Okay.
it's a needle is a needle is a needle. And if it's got
Right.
got anything, it's got insulin in it, and so it can't be just put any place, and if somebody pricks their finger with it, and
Mhm.
yeah, you can't.
No, I would agree. I think we ought to have an offering
Right.
to the residents for
Right.
disposal.
Alan?
I remember back a ways, we looked at a company for some reason. I think, Tom, they were out of Texas,
That sounds right. Yeah.
and we could purchase. You pretty much had to purchase the containers by the pallet, so it was a bit of an investment. And then the containers were essentially prepaid and came with a mailing label, and then you could mail them back to the company to be properly disposed of. Jack, I don't know if there was any way for you to research that.
I believe those are the same containers that E.L. Harvey gives us for free as part of the contract, but we only get 12 a year.
Right. Same containers, but like I said, it was a private company we talked to. The representative called in. For some reason, I thought we were pretty close to pulling the trigger on it. And I don't remember what happened. Probably COVID. That's what everybody blames things on, right?
Might as well.
Yeah, I mean, it is an expense. And we're fortunate that we have the agreement with Harvey that we have to try to assist our residents in doing the right thing. I believe they've been a little more generous on occasion with supplying us with some additional containers above and beyond the 12 if they were available. It costs money to do the right thing.
Right. I would say that we could try to just have one container and just see how, see how that works. We'll be able to know if it's, filled to the top. Maybe Penny will fill us to the top from the get-go. But, I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, I know Jack pulled up some suggestions. I believe it was the Hopedale Fire Department that didn't have a residency restriction. If I read what what Jack had put out.
Yeah, let me just pull that back up again.
All right. The other suggestions are there's a company called Stericycle, I believe, that handles medical related waste. And I'm not sure, but right over the town line in Sutton, not too far from the Whitensville CVS, there's a company, NEDT, I believe, that might be helpful to Penny.
That's the one along
So-
Route 146, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you think maybe I can bring them to the Hopedale Fire Department?
Well, it's a possibility if you're looking at what Jack has put up on the screen.
Yeah, I see
If you
that.
have that ability, right off the bat, they don't have a residency restriction,
Mhm.
which I'm surprised. And if you have them in the proper containers,
Yep.
I would say that's a possibility. Unfortunately, a lot of people put them in coffee cans. Although I don't know if coffee cans exist anymore, but a lot of people put them in containers that are not safe and appropriate.
Yeah, these needles come in, it's funny, in the container, you pull out the package of needles, it has a space in the top, you drop the needle in and you turn the thing and it's contained right inside the container. So it comes with the container. I just
Yeah,
don't know what to
I
do with
just
the
noticed
containers.
Bellingham doesn't have a residency restriction. So you got two options there.
Oh, it's
Hopedale
a senior
Fire and the
center, okay.
Bellingham Senior Center. Now, however, you do have to make an appointment.
Oh, at the senior center, okay.
Upton Senior Center, no restriction there for residency. Hoppington, no restriction for
Medway.
residency. So, you've got some options right in front of you that Jack pulled up.
Okay, I'll go to that safe needle disposal and
Yeah, just so that you
I'll
can.
spread it around all the other towns.
Well, I mean, it'll
So you've
help
got
you.
9 towns,
Yeah,
a package for each town.
It will at least help you get your surplus under control.
Right.
And we're gonna have to, look at this option, and maybe Jack can do some research in his spare time. And I say that facetiously, or whatever the right word is. I'm just
Yeah,
joking.
because we're keeping him pretty busy. His
Um,
spare
I-
time he doesn't
Like I
have.
said, it was a company out of Texas, and I believe the containers, we had to buy like a pallet at a time. I don't remember how many were on a pallet, but for some reason, I'm gonna say it was $1,000 investment. And then those containers were set up that you could label them and mail them to the proper site. But I don't remember how long ago that was now. And I don't know if I even have it in my notes.
I remember typing up the meeting minutes for that, so I'll have to take a look at that.
Good that it wasn't as far back as I thought then.
No,
Wow, how time flies.
Yeah, even if you're not having fun.
All right, well, Penny, I hope we've been helpful.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm going to visit a couple of those places and get rid of my surplus. You know,
And-
I only go through one container probably every 6 weeks or so, six or 7 weeks. So it's not terrible. I've been collecting them though for a year and a half since she was diagnosed, because I don't know what to do with them.
Yeah, no, well, I applaud you for not putting them in the trash and asking the
Thank you.
question. While I have you on the line, if I may, I believe you're the young lady who also was experiencing some unpleasant rodents.
The rats.
And how is that going while I have you on the line?
I actually haven't seen any, and I covered in at the end of the season. I had covered in all the holes, and they haven't uncovered them. And I know they don't hibernate. So, and I've had out the rat birth control. So I
Mhm.
don't know if that's working, but I haven't seen any in 3 months, maybe.
Good.
3
Yeah,
months.
I
Yeah.
think Penny, a lot of that problem was the drought.
Yeah.
I think that they were looking for water in every place, and everybody that I talk to, because, and I do a lot of that, we talk about that because they were asking me, what do you do? Because I have a big barn and, and they're saying the same thing, that it has diminished considerably.
Well, I hope it's not just because of the winter, and I hope it stays that way. But I'm also not planting a garden outside this year because, I had one, and they were eating my vegetables, and I'm not doing it this year. I'm skipping this
Right.
year because I don't
But
want.
see, they were
them
looking
to-
for the water. They were looking for the water. Because we had the same
Yeah.
problem with the squirrels. The squirrels were taking down my husband's pride and joy, which is the corn, and they were taking down the stalks, and they were eating all the corn, but it was because they were so thirsty.
Yeah, I have a backyard pond, also like a little goldfish pond,
Yeah.
and I can't drain that and get rid of my goldfish. I think
No,
there's a couple
no.
dozen goldfish in there, but again, I haven't seen them.
Right.
And I did see them near the pond, obviously, but they were also
Right.
eating the vegetables, which was also near the pond. So it was very convenient for them to
Yeah.
have a
They were
drink
having-
and have some
having
food.
drinks and dinner.
Yeah, yep, dinner and drinks. I was the best restaurant in town, I guess. But no, I
they
haven't
didn't
seen
leave a
them, and I
tip.
hope I don't see them.
Right.
Right.
I think as long as we don't have another drought, things will be a little better.
All right, Tom?
I hope so.
Penny, I was just curious, do you know of any other neighbors that happen to join in and take mitigating steps to rid the problem or control the problem?
I believe the girl next door to me, she has chickens and roosters, and I think that she said, I didn't see any of the containers, but she said that she also had the rat birth control as well, because I know that they were trying to get into her garage, so she got the rat birth control stuff.
Good, okay. I was just curious how extensive folks joined in up there on your street to kind of help out. Thank you.
Yeah, all I'll
You're
say in closing on that issue is don't let your guard down.
No.
Obviously at the first signs of any activity, don't ignore them because that rat birth control takes a while to
Yes.
really reduce the population to a point where we can live together.
Right. I mean, I've been in Mendon, I think this is my 8th year. Never, we had voles. I mean, I know that we had voles. They were eating all my hostas from the bottom up, destroyed some plants. But it's funny, when the rats came, I think the voles left. And I haven't seen the voles. I haven't seen the rats. So I'm hoping that I haven't seen, I never saw them in the first 8 years I was here.
Right. Well,
So I'm
I
hoping
think
they've
it had
gone
to,
this year.
I think it had to do with the drought, but I've been wrong before once, I think.
Well, it's funny. I didn't see, and I think people use the secondary kill poison, and I wasn't seeing the natural predators. But one day I was out there and I heard the owls talking to each other. I'm like, oh my God, the owls are back. I was so happy. I was happy they ate all the fish in my pond one year, but I was never so happy to see the owls back.
Yikes.
Yeah, we cover the pond now. We cover it with a fence, so the owls can't swoop in. And they don't do it in the summertime because there's a fountain in there. But once you turn the fountain off for the winter,
Right,
it's clean pickings for them.
right. Oh,
Thank you very much, Penny.
Well, thank you guys. You're always so helpful. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
All right. Well, you guys have a good night.
you
Thank
too.
you.
as well.
Take care.
Thanks. You
Uh,
too. Bye-bye.
Next topic is topics not anticipated within 48 hours.
I thought I heard Jack say there was nothing.
Well, real quickly, if I could just get an update on the food inspector position.
We do have, let me check the date here. On Tuesday, the 28th, I do have Colleen coming into the office to speak with Tom and Joyce and Danielle. And if you're available, you're more than welcome, obviously.
What's
But
the date?
it's Tuesday, 28th.
28th.
Yep. Probably about 2:30.
You gotta send out a reminder on that, Jack?
I will.
Because until you just mentioned it, I forgot all about it.
He knows his audience.
Just so
Yeah.
just so the board and Colleen and Danielle all have the same understanding on what is expected, like what she's expecting from the board, what the board's expecting from Colleen, because I don't want anybody to be like, well, I thought this or I thought that type of thing.
Nope, great idea. Did we get all her paperwork and salary requirements?
I did print it off. I will email it out tomorrow. I forgot to include it with the packets for this week.
No worries. Anything else, folks?
I'm good.
Jack, so you said 2:30?
Yep.
Okay. Duly noted.
We need to set a meeting.
All right, 2 weeks from today is April 5th.
And that meeting will be in person.
There is no more remote meetings.
Uh-oh.
No,
I'm gonna have to step down. All
I'm
right.
gonna have to take my other clothes off.
All right. In person.
At least some is coming.
Can we go to 7 o'clock?
Sure.
Yeah.
Good for me because golf will be coming pretty soon.
That's right.
All the priorities.
Hey, you gotta
Okay.
do what you gotta do.
So next meeting is Wednesday, April 5th, in person, 7 o'clock at the
Okay.
office? Or do we have to do it in the upper town hall? How's that gonna work, Jack?
Usually I do the upper town hall every single time.
Okay, but the selectmen are now meeting. Is that, no, that won't interfere with us because they're on opposite Wednesdays,
Correct.
except for tonight.
Except
Yeah.
for tonight. They ran late with their budget meeting, so they had to schedule more type of thing. So I think they're done after tonight.
So that's
Okay.
April 5th.
Yeah, plus we'd have to be, we're limited on the venues we can use because we have to allow for the virtual
Right.
connectivity. So I think there's only 3 venues that actually have it set up.
Right. All right,
Yeah,
so
so-
at this time, it'll be site to be determined based on what's available.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, what are the three options? A town, up at town hall, police
Library.
department? Library was one of them?
Yeah,
Okay. And I know police department was another, the
yeah,
conference
'cause
room, I think.
remember we
Yeah,
talked
we
about
did the
the
library.
regulations at the library,
That's right, yeah.
Yeah,
and that worked out fine.
It did, oh, yeah. Yeah.
All right. Um,
I haven't had a chance to sign your papers.
I'm almost done. I'm gonna bring them over to you.
Oh, you little Dickens. I'll have Dan sign them too.
Yeah, I'm on the back sheet. I'm working on it.
Good.
Well, you have until Tuesday, right?
Oh, yeah,
Right? The
the
28th, I
20th?
believe.
yeah. I'm doing good.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll get them over to Joyce Friday morning.
okay. Good.
Like I said, I'm on the backside. I gotta do a little bit of work,
Hey,
you know? I
you
gotta
work
show a
hard.
li- I gotta show a little bit of interest.
You're a hard worker. You do good.
Knock on a couple of doors, put a little
Yeah.
flyer in the door jam.
Well, actually, Jack, that reminds me. I talked with a resident this afternoon, and his son is awaiting a phone call from Steve Donatelli.
Well,
I guess he's
Steve,
left.
Steve
Yeah.
Donatelli's on vacation,
That's what I said to this gentleman. Perhaps he's on vacation.
and he's doing Fred Lap, Justin, is that his name?
Yeah.
Yep.
Fred's son, Justin's in
son,
charge.
Okay.
So,
Well, this isn't anything urgent, but this young gentleman has some questions about. I believe you talked with Dad. Perk tests and deep holes
yeah,
on a piece of land that he'd like to buy. So,
He wants to have the test done.
well, he's trying to get educated on the process, the
Oh.
results. I guess this piece of land maybe has failed a perk in the past.
Yeah.
So he's, with the new technologies that are available, et cetera, he's, investigating things before he makes the big jump.
Well, that's a good idea because if it
That's right.
failed in the past,
Yeah,
chances
no.
are pretty
Nice young gentleman,
close.
grew up in town, like to stay,
Right.
but he's trying to get himself educated. So that's
Right.
why his father had come into the office to ask some questions, and he's left Steve, 2 messages. But I said that he may be on vacation.
Right.
So I guess I guessed right. And I will
Correct.
tell this property, I will tell this resident about that, and,
Right.
uh,
And if push came to shove, if he wanted to come to the studio and have a chat, I'd be happy to do that.
all right, I
because,
will
no.
pass that on, Joyce.
I've done more perk tests than I care to think about.
There you go. Well, you're a perky lady.
Yeah, yeah. I'm getting less perky as the time goes by.
Oh, don't tell me you're gonna become Mrs. C.
More quirky than perky.
All right, folks, I think, we need to, have a
I
motion.
move that we adjourn.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Tom, I.
Thank you all. I appreciate your time and effort.
Thank you.
Okay.
Same here. Thank you all.
Good
Have a
night.
good night.
Later.
Good night.
Good night.